Welcome to part 2 of lesson 5.6. So in the first part where we ended is we ran the application and we were running into an issue since we cannot call the reload from any other thread but the main queue or main thread. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and update our completion handler to handle the fetch items function to be executed on our main queue. So let me just go ahead and update this. So what I will do is I will go ahead and after the in statement is I'll go ahead and add my dispatch queue statement. And then what we want to do is we want to run it from our main. And it'll be an async. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and cut and paste my code into the dispatch queue. Okay, so now we should have solved that issue. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and actually display the information in the various controls. Usually we would do that in the cell for row function to configure our table view cells. But since what we need to do in this is we need to set the main text label, the subtext label, and the image view, but we don't have the image view. So what we have is we only have an image URL. So what we need to do is fetch the image before we can set it on the image view. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that in a separate method called config that gets called from that cells for row at. So if you go ahead and look down below in our cells for row at, it calls the config method. So what we need is we need to go back into our config method, and the first thing we're going to do is set our cell detail text label to display the artist. So let me go ahead and type that in. Cell detail text label, again an optional, and we'll go ahead and display our item.artist. And then after that we need to go in and actually what we're going to do is for the image is we're going to go into our main storyboard and we're going to set a default image that displays. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and click on my table view, my item cell content view, click on my image view, and what we're going to do is we're going to select a gray background image. So if there is not an image for the music app, book, or movie, it'll display that gray background. So let me go back into my store item list table view controller. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and actually use the URL session. And what we're going to be doing with that is we're going to create a new data task with the item's artwork URL, and then we're going to use our completion handler to unwrap the image data, initialize a UI image from the data, and set the image to the image view. And we want to make sure that this is run on the main queue. So what we'll do, the first thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and create a task, let our task equal to a URL dot session, and it'll be a shared data task. Go ahead and delete that dot. Okay, so what we're going to do then is it's with our item.artwork URL. And what we're going to do is we need to have either a data response or error will get returned. And then what we want to do is we'll use a guard statement. Let our image data equal data, else we'll just return. And then we're going to go ahead and use our dispatch next. So our dispatch queue, to make sure we call it on our main. And what we're going to do is just let our image equal our UI image. And that'll be our image data. And then we'll have our cell.image_view.image equal to our image. And then finally, we need to go ahead and add our task.resume call in. Okay, so that should be the code that we need to add to actually pull out the artwork. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and run it and see what happens. And as it slowly comes up, what we have is we have our screen. We'll do another search. And it looks like our search is working fine for Metallica. Go ahead for music, apps, books. I'll go ahead and add another search here. Add in Johnny Cash, and we'll hit enter. There we go. We got books coming up, the apps, music with the various pictures, album art, and the movies related to Johnny Cash. So it looks like our app is now working correctly. So the last thing we're going to talk about is being able to go ahead and cache your URL results. So caching the results of the URL request will reduce the number of requests that need to be made to the server, and it'll improve your app's user experience by making certain data from the server more readily available even when the user is offline, experiencing a slow network connection or requesting a large piece of data that would typically take time to download. So URL cache is a Swift class. So what we can do is we can go ahead and basically go into our app delegate method, and then they have setup cache right in our did finish launching with options function. So I'll go ahead and set a temporary directory equal to ns temporary directory. And then I'll let our URL cache object equal to our URL cache. And we're going to specify our memory capacity, which will be 25, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 million. Tab over to our disk dependency 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And then finally we'll tab over to our temporary directory as our disk path. And then all we need to do then is we need to go ahead and call our shared method. Okay, so now we've set up our cache. So our URL cache is created by passing in the number of bytes we would like use for our cache, both in memory and disk, and passing in the directory where the cache should be located. So if there was a slow connection or you're requesting a large piece of information, this should help save a little bit of time when running the application. So I'll just go ahead and run the application one more time. Make sure we didn't mess anything up. Go ahead and type in a new request. Type in U2 and do a search. Movies come up, type in music. Music comes up, apps and books. So it looks like we didn't mess anything up. So do a Command Q. So that's all for lesson 5.6. Good luck with the lesson, and we will be talking to you later.